Welcome to OIR 102, Political Thought. This is a compulsory course for first year students taking the Bachelor of Arts in International Relations degree program. This is Knowledge Area 1, which is an introductory topic for the course. My name is Toa Katabaro. I will be delivering this lecture 1 through this media. In this Knowledge Area 1 is an introduction to the course. The topic is structured in such a way that students will be assisted to understand the concepts of politics, political theory, and the political thought, which will be the foundations for all coming or next topics. The overview of the course, or the course description and the coverage, is that the course covers the chronological trend of political thought from ancient times to modern time. That is, it surveys the theories and the political events from the ancient time to modern time. It further discloses a variety of ideas put forward by different political thinkers who use these speculations and reasoning to give meaning and descriptions of various concepts such as government, leadership, democracy, power, authority, and the others. Let us now start with the concept of politics. Politics is a contentious term which has been defined differently by different scholars over time. The term has its origin in a Greek word, polis, which by then it meant city-state. As I said, that the term has been defined differently by different scholars over time. Let us now start surveying different scholars and their views on the term politics. From there, we will make a critical analysis of what politics should mean in our contemporary times. Aristotle, for example, in his book Politics, first referred politics to mean affairs of a Greek city-state, which in modern times are sovereign states. To Aristotle, politics meant affairs of city-state. That means affairs of the government. In modern times, the city-states are the sovereign states that we all know. Aristotle observed that man by nature is both a social and political animal, meaning that man cannot live in isolation, and he has to live and grow in a social groups. Hence, man cannot detach himself from the society to which he belongs. Therefore, to Aristotle, viewed politics as, I said before, as the affairs of the state. And he went further and observed that man by nature is a social and a political animal. Therefore, to Aristotle, man is the subject of politics, in a sense that human being cannot live in isolation. Human beings live in social groups, and therefore you cannot isolate human being from politics. In so doing, man becomes a political animal for the basic reason that he tends to act politically with others in view of selfish character. That is to say, human being cannot live in isolation. He has to live in a social group where he interacts with others, and in so doing, man becomes a political animal. But at what point does human being become a political animal? It is at that point where man has to interact, and in that interaction, human being puts his interest first than those of others. That's why Aristotle observed that human being is a political animal, and for that reason, human being tends to act politically with others in a view of selfish character. Therefore, the essence of social existence is politics, and that two or more men interacting with one another are involved in a political relationship. So, human being is every human being is a political animal, in a sense that human being cannot live in isolation. He has to live and grow in a social group, and in the interaction with others, human being puts his or her interest first. Basing on Aristotle's view of the term politics, modern scholars of political science have also given several meanings of the term politics, which, however, do not deviate from Aristotle's view. Aristotle's view of politics is that politics is the affair of the state, and being the affair of the state, man finds himself or herself in a social interaction, and therefore, with those interactions, man becomes a political and a social animal. Basing on Aristotle's view on politics, several other scholars have also come up with more definitions, but it should be noted that those definitions which came after Aristotle do not deviate much from Aristotle's view. Let us now see those views. Harold Laswell in 1958 held that politics is the process of deciding who gets what, when, and how. That was Laswell. That to him, politics just meant the process of deciding who gets what, when, and how. This definition has a broader interpretation, which we shall see later. The second scholar is David Easton. In 1965, he defined politics as the authoritative allocation of scarce values or resources. Third, Okudi Banori in 1985 defined politics as those activities that are directly or indirectly involved with the acquisition, seizure, and the consolidation of state power. Analysis of the definitions. The general observation regarding the three definitions is that society is constantly struggling over valuable scarce resources for its members, and the politics is at the center of that struggle. That is point number one, that is deduced from the three definitions given by Harold Laswell, David Easton, and Okudi Banori. The second point is that resources such as money, power, prestige, and security constitute the end, and the politics is the means of influencing the acquisition, seizure, and the control over those resources. A close observation of the three definitions suggests that in politics there is a process, and that process is much concerned with the struggle over scarce resources. So politics becomes the means, and those resources are the end. People will always struggle, and that struggle can take the shape of politics. But politics itself is not an end. It is rather the means of acquisition, seizure, and the consolidation or control over scarce resources. So, if we go back to Aristotle's view of politics, who viewed politics as affairs of the state, and if we go to Laswell, who viewed politics as a process of deciding who gets what, when, and how, or David Easton, to whom politics is authoritative allocation of scarce values, or Okudi Banori, who viewed politics as those activities which are directly or indirectly related with the acquisition, seizure, and the consolidation of state power. All the three or four definitions are the same. They put politics at the center of the struggle for the acquisition, seizure, and the control of scarce resources. Every person has something that it takes to be of more value than others. So engaging in politics may, in two or more people engaging in politics, may have different things that they want to achieve, but they will all use politics as the means of achieving that end. That any attempt of men to achieve personal control and security over available resources, and as they try to influence others to accept their points of view, they are engaged in politics. In this broad sense, everyone becomes a politician. Is there anybody who is not a politician? The answer is now clear. Human being is a political and a social animal, in a sense that he cannot live in isolation. He has to live and grow in a social group. Being in that social group, human being will always try to put his interest first, and he will have a goal to achieve. Achieving that goal will involve persuasion, struggle with others so as to reach an end or to achieve the ultimate goal. So, I repeat that in a broad sense, everyone is a politician. Let's now move to narrow perception of politics. In a narrow sense, and perhaps the wrong perception, politics is often taken to connote activities of politicians or elected government officials, such as heads of state and the governments, ministers, and the chancellors, who always compete in elections so as to get appointed or elected to those positions. That is a very narrow sense. In the other circles, politics is described as a dirty game. Why is politics described as that game? Friendship and enmity are temporary, and the political interests are permanent. In a narrow sense, as I said, politics is taken as the business of elected politicians, or the business of politicians, which in contemporary times we take politicians as those people who aspire to hold certain positions through elections. That is a narrow perception, simply because politics is the business of all men, in a sense that man becomes a political animal because he has to live and grow in social groups where he has interests to achieve, and achieving those interests involves persuasion and sometimes struggle to acquire or to achieve the desired interests. So whether a normal politician or a non-politician, human being is a political animal or is a politician in nature. I also explained that in some circles, politics is described as a dirty game, and I asked why is it described as a dirty game? Friendship and enmity are temporary, and the political interests are permanent. Um, what do we mean by friendship and enmity being temporary and the political interests are permanent? That means at times in politics, people may become enemies, and when they become enemies, they will use. That means enmity comes at a time when people are struggling to make sure that their interests come first before the others. That gives rise to enmity. But that enmity can also end when the same people struggling for certain resources have common interest. Therefore, friendship and enmity are temporary, but political interests are permanent. That's the point where politics is described as a data game. I think the concept of politics, whether in a broad sense or narrow sense, is now clear to everybody. Let's now move to the second concept, and that is political theory. A theory is a set of statements or principles formulated to explain a group of facts or phenomena. A set of statements or principles that have been formulated to explain a group of facts or phenomena is what we call a theory. And the theorizing is a procedure of discovery or inquiry, and not a process of validating or proving a conclusion reached about a phenomenon. In theorizing, we just use procedures of discovery or inquiry, and not a process of validating or proving a conclusion reached about a phenomenon. That's why there are so many theories explaining the same phenomenon, and those theories may be similar or totally different. Now, theories have a tendency to build or improve understanding of what is understood. That means theories come to give more explanation on what is already known. Communism, for example, explains how society should be organized, and not whether the society exists or not exists. That is an example to prove that theories normally build or improve understanding of what is understood. It doesn't intend to prove or disapprove what is already known. Communism is known as a theory which explains how the society should be organized, how the government should work, what should constitute the government, but it doesn't refute the existence of the society. It rather explains how the society should be organized. Likewise, capitalism, socialism, all these are theoretical explanations of how the state, the economy should be organized. The second We are still discussing political theory as one of the concepts in our first lecture, and here I give definitions as explained by various scholars. Political theory is man's attempt to consciously understand and solve the problems of his group, life, and the organization. It is the disciplined investigation of political problems, not only to show what a political practice is, but also to show what it means. That is the first definition that has been put forward by Sabin in 1939. The second definition is that political theory is a set of specified relationships encompassing political matters that focus and organize inquiry to describe, explain, and predict political events and behaviors. That is Psalm 20:07. David Held, 1991, views political theory as a network of concepts and the generalizations about political life involving ideas, assumptions, and statements about the nature, purpose, and the key features of government, state, and society, and about the political capabilities of human beings. What do we get out of the several definitions that I have explained to you? It means briefly that political theory is a theory about politics. Political theories are designed to reflect upon political phenomena, processes, for example, drafting the constitution, elections, and appointment procedures, institutions such as parliament, cabinet, courts, government agencies, and the bureau, and on actual political behavior of people by subjecting it to philosophical or ethical criterion. That is political theory. All political theories have to be designed in such a way that they reflect upon political phenomena, processes, institutions, and the rest, and the behaviors of politicians. Political theorists attempt to establish logical generalizations, inferences, or conclusions which are drawn from the data gathered by other theories. Theories are the results of thoughts and the research of many scholars and the exponents of political science. Therefore, conclusions reached are not necessarily new, but improve the understanding of what was previously understood by the society. Examples of political theories include liberalism, communism, and realism. These theories of liberalism, communism, and realism have their own specific topics in this course. The third concept in this lecture is political thought. Political thought is the study of the concepts, principles, ideas, and the assumptions that people use to explain, describe, analyze, predict, and evaluate a breadth of political actions, events, and institutions. That is what constitutes political thought. It is the study of the concepts, principles, ideas, and the assumptions that people use to explain, describe, analyze, predict, evaluate a breadth of political actions, events, and institutions. The study of the concepts related to politics, the principles, ideas, and the assumptions that philosophers in a political field have had over time. Those ideas have to be studied, and they study about all those concepts. The evaluation of those concepts, events, and the institutions is what constitutes political thought. The third and the last concept in our lecture is political thought. Political thought is what constitutes our cause. Our cause name is political thought, and it has to be understood so as to make you understand what we mean from the beginning of the cause to the end of the cause. If it is not understood, it will be difficult to understand other concepts in the cause. Now, political thought is the study of the concepts, principles, ideas, and the assumptions that people use to explain, describe, analyze, predict, and evaluate a breadth of political actions, events, and institutions. The concepts, for example, capitalism, socialism, institutions such as government, the court of law, institutions such as the cabinet, and the rest. These concepts have to be studied, have to be analyzed, have to be evaluated. Also, political actions and the events have also to be studied, evaluated, explained, so as to give them a broader meaning and a broader understanding to the people. Now, the study of these institutions, the study of these principles, the study of assumptions about these ideas, institutions, is what we call political thought. And as I said in from the beginning, that this course surveys the political thoughts from the ancient times to modern times. What political thinkers put forward is an attempt to explain ideas, principles, assumptions, and the rest related to politics is what constitutes political thought. To wind up our lecture, I will summarize what we discussed from the beginning. Our lecture was on introduction to political thought, and the introduction involved explanation of the key concepts in the course. The first one was politics as defined by different scholars over time. We analyzed the definitions, and ultimately we said every human being is a political animal because no human being can live in isolation. Rather, human being lives in social group where he grows to be what he is or what she is. And the second concept was a political theory. We defined it, and the last point is political thought, which we have just finished. Thank you very much.